Welcome back. We're going to be on screen in 5. I just want to update a few things before we come on screen. We'll do that in a minute. Anyway, for those of you that don't know, I'm Yildiz from Yildiz Readings 5D, a psychic medium, clairvoyant, and intuitive astrologer. It has been a while. I have been in hiding, doing my physio. And if you do want to sign up to the membership site, we do have the links directly below. Otherwise, we're going to have a quick chat about the much talked about eclipse in Pisces. And to give some of you some context, and I think because at this point in time, for some of us, it can be a feeling where we can be having an overwhelm and really trying to understand in layman's terms for some of us how this can actually be playing out. Now, the importance of this energy and the factor, which I have actually gone into in my blog updates where time has permitted. I've had to drag it out and write September all through the month in bits and drabs. Basically, we need to get that this is a big deal. And why is it a big deal? It's been with us for quite a while. We have had the likes of Pisces moving through particular planets, probably all the way from 2003. And it has been a very psychological time. So we have very much we've had Uranus in Pisces, we've had Chiron in Pisces, we've had Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces is where it likes to be. However, Saturn aided us to be a bit more grounded and structured in its approach, which is quite interesting because how do you structure a dream or a belief or our psychology, for instance? So it was a bit of a unique kind of way to view it. We also then had the nodes there, and now we are wrapping up the final eclipse of this point. Now, it is away from the nodes, and it is going to be a partial eclipse. And, you know, really tuning into it and talking to many people of late, I do feel for some of us how this is going to come about. And it's not going to be 100% because we can already see on a global stage how some of these things relating to Pisces has been showing up. Could they be linking to the previous eclipse? Potentially. However, what you may find is at this time, you could be quite disillusioned. It's very normal, okay? Is it going to be this way forever? No, it's not going to be. But how you could be feeling in ebbs and flows, especially as of tomorrow, if you were to look at the chart, you would probably throw up. It looks messy, okay? Now, how could it show up? It may be from an emotional level, you do feel disillusioned. There is a lot of psychology coming up. You are dealing with some pressure points and looking at the 3D of a circumstance in your life as well as the internal, and that pressure directly can be building. If you have, for instance, become disillusioned in particular areas, there has been something for myself I have actually attempted to implement myself, and I have found that for me, dealing with the psychology associated to the placement of where it falls for me, I've actually leaned into doing things that feels authentic to myself. So it's the things that raises you up. It's the things that lights you up. Because if we do look at the 3D of circumstances that we're dealing with at the moment, and we've got 101 Dalmatians of everything that's going wrong for us, but we lean into the core of what lights us up, which is part of the previous eclipse, we're going to actually get some clarity about who the new version of us has become. Because there is a lack of acceptance and closure about what that is. And I think if we directly can lean into the things that feel authentic to us, and it can be something ever so simple. And even with my sister tonight, I actually mentioned that to her. It's the term keep it simple, stupid. You know, it's like leaning in, doing something at a simplistic level, being able to hear your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions that come up so you can understand the context of how life has played out for you. And we can be mourning the frustration of things that we've dealt with from pre-2020. So, you know, the adversity, we had hard aspects with, you know, Jupiter. And at the end of the month, Jupiter is making a trine But what I can say is it's the implementation of changes you desire to make for the bigger picture come 2027. And I will go into that in the blog. If you want to see it, you can go down to the link below, and it's going to give you the September forecast so you can have some context of how it shows up in your life. And we break it down, cover the most important aspects, but I don't just land on the September energy. And that's because a lot of the movements of the planets that we're moving into, come September, we are going to feel a change. We just need to get there. We can have that apprehension like Penny Little, the sky's going to fall down, is something going to land? And I can't say it won't. But for some of us, it already has. For some of us, it's the psychology in coming to terms with those things and how it's directly impacted us and where we stand in the here and now and who that new version of us is going to be. So was it a connection? Was it, losing a pet? Was it a dream that you desired? Was it the frustration of believing things and feeling very disillusioned? And I mean, like I said, we only need to look at the global stage at the moment, and it's enough to drive an uncrazy. So how do we raise that vibration to bring it up when theoretically there is going to be changes? And it can be almost like realizing and leaning in, and especially for those of you that are Pisces and Virgo, this has been, I mean, I praise you. I take my hat off to you guys. You've done so well. It's been a lot. We do tend to, when the nodes are there, take on the embodiment of that zodiac sign. And so we directly then can have compassion to that zodiac sign for the demeanor and its personality traits and the goods and bads of it. So we have a better comprehension of how that feels. And, so how could I describe the Pisces Virgo energy? Attention to detail, really, we have moved away a lot, maybe due to circumstances where we had to accept the restrictions and inabilities to achieve certain things or make them perfect due to circumstances. And we really had to learn to let go and flow. And believe you me, I am an absolute perfectionist. It is the hardest thing for me to do. I mean, a base person's standards is hair. Mine's up there, and if I don't achieve it, it's absolutely not good enough. So that really did at the beginning of the year, well, not beginning of the year, beginning of the Ingress, really pushed me to take on such a great deal, which I can't believe I did. But at the same time, I think what it did show was, wow, you can actually achieve a lot if you try. The other thing it showed was, how can I put it? Learning to live with, what would the word be? Things that aren't permanent. Learning to be able to live inside an ecosystem in life that has no flaw. And what do I mean by that? I think many of us can actually say that it has been very difficult to build our life in a changing world where we don't know what to expect. And what are some examples? Will AI take my job? Is this better than that? How is the economy going? What is the weather? What's happening with the weather? Our country's just going to get along. Is there going to be issues with this or that? Like, the list goes on. And so from an energetic level, you're dealing with that in a 3D. But you could actually find, if you actually step back during this cycle, you more than likely have actually mastered some acute skills, some real detailed skills that helps you live on the fly, that helps you live in a more fluid manner, that there's the if this, if that energy. And I'd love to hear some of your examples of how it happened, and I've talked to Angela about this the other day, about some of the things that I learned in life about, almost living like a nomad in ways due to what is going on, in the world globally, and how we can actually lean in and be that different approach to things, but actually find those solutions. And I think the pressure points we're having, a lot of that is at a psychological level, because now with the new nodes, what we're going to find is that it isn't on one person anymore. It is a collective energy. It is a group-orientated energy. And I've seen some really fabulous videos on YouTube that directly do mirror that energy. coming through just on YouTube, and they're just different things. There was a gentleman in America who, and some of you might have seen this person, it might have come through in your feed, and he's just decided that he wanted to clean up the street. So he's took it upon himself to actually go street by street in his local community, and he's now cleaning the soil up around the trees on the roadscape and planting flowers, and it's motivating people in the community to actually go, hey, it's a wave of energy. So it's like somebody's thought has turned into a trend, but in a positive way. So it's the Leo Aquarius energy. It's that with groups we can actually achieve mountains. So we may be thinking of that at the moment and saying, oh my gosh, you know, what can I do? Little old me. But there is that energy of motivation that you'd be very surprised there's more like people like you. And even in the smallest ways, in your own energy, in your own community and your friendship groups, you may find your energy does matter. Now, Jupiter is in Leo, which is an ironic kind of combination because it's also linking to the South Node. So you can be going back to playful things. All of a sudden, you know, especially at the moment, if you are feeling, oh my gosh, I really don't have any passion anymore. Everything is terrible. I feel really down. This is very dark. The shadow work associated to Pisces is very big. There's a lot of psychology associated to it. There's the physical 3D belief system. There's the wounds that we can be getting due to Chiron and Aries, and that it's going to come back. So it's coming back. But we're going to move beyond this point, and there are some positivities in effect where we are directly moving, but there can be some challenges that we are at the moment as this eclipse kind of lands. That yes, at a collective level, we can be seeing things, we can be experiencing it, but it also can be a very internal thing that you're having. And with that internal, you will reach a resolve of what that factor is and how that's going to look for you. And, you know, I can briefly go through some of the zodiacs to give you some context of how this can be playing out for you and maybe what some of the subjects are. But those of you that are Pisces and Virgo, we do have the Virgo moon next month. That energy is probably going to give you some more clarity. And I would say if you want to tap out or you don't want to do something, I would say please pause. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Sit and live through the energy. You know, a lot of times I've had a lot of questions lately asking, how do we move beyond a trigger? And generally how we actually do that is by being in another trigger, so that we can actually sit inside and ask ourselves the question. And of course, if it's dangerous, 100% walk away. But if it's something that is re-triggering an old wound, it's about sitting in that for 5 to 10 minutes and asking yourself the question and saying, is this actually a different thing? Because it does give you the ability to disprove the proved, to show yourself that you can actually move beyond this, so it no longer actually has to define you. So that when it does occur again, you can differentiate between, is this in fact the same thing, or is it merely a trigger and this makes me feel uncomfortable? And you will work out what is going to work best for you. Now, with this cycle, it is wrapping up a stage in which we felt isolated, a stage in which we felt maybe ashamed or guilty or dealing with trauma and feeling like nobody quite understood. Here comes the real work of moving beyond that. And it is like we are going from this stage of feeling quite trapped to a stage of wanting to be liberated in some way in our life. That could be psychologically, it might be physically, could be a 3D circumstance or a connection or a relationship, person, place, thing, job, wherever it lands for you. And yes, it could have touched those areas in all facets. Now, leaning in and looking at it, as we do actually have the nodes already move, plus we have Saturn and Neptune and Aries, it's like we are a newborn and we're wanting to do things that are fresh. Jupiter and Leo also is going to ask us, we're going to be creative. We're going to want to have fun. And it sounds cliche, but the soul needs to be fed. So there can be creativity. There can be heartfelt energy. We will not be attracted to the egoic style anymore. We are going to want something that is very, very authentic, something that is honest, something that is authentic, More so, also, we are going to be in that shadow of Venus gearing up to go retrograde. So this reworking is going to go deep. And so if this doesn't feel deep, Venus retrograde in Scorpio will. That doesn't have to be bad, though. It can be an opportunity where what you thought was compost becomes your liquid gold. So it can be a time that in those particular areas, if you're cautious and you structure and you work on that area, you can actually go into having this great reveal and this great movement forward and setting yourself up for a very long time in a very positive way through that process. Now, I'm going to get the wheel up and we're going to briefly look at the star signs, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'll briefly try and touch base on some of the energies of the likes of maybe, you know, what some of you might have been actually dealing with. Wrong one. And get an image. This is really unorganized, by the way, so apologies. But again, some of you may feel like, okay, what is this? Is it a direct area? Now, Aries, for you guys, the good part is we have both Saturn and Neptune retrograde. So, you know, especially if you wanted to achieve certain things at the moment and you felt quite isolated, misunderstood, you have had a pretty hard placement, okay? Pisces has been over your 12th house. And, that, you know, that's pretty much since we had it all the way back when. So I believe 2003, all the way to this point. That's a long time, okay? So be it you had patterns or habits, or you were very private, you felt isolated, you felt very misunderstood. Maybe you were living in a foreign country, or you know, the 12th house can be a number of things. It can be hospitalization. It might be mental health. It could be abuse of pacifiers, habits and patterns, belief systems, paranoia, enemies, you know, not feeling safe and having to step back and go into isolation. And, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit like the Rapunzel effect. We can get to a space that we feel very misunderstood. We can feel as though sometimes it's a curse that we're isolated. We could have moved somewhere, maybe due to employment or something else, maybe due to family, especially because we had Jupiter and Cancer. So that for you has been quite a bit. Now, for some of you, you could be thinking this is just how life is. Now, the funny thing is, because this eclipse is ending, already you might have seen some of these things coming through for you. You may very well be getting to a stage where you're finding you're not having the isolation as much, and it's almost like a return to society. So there is this turning point. There is this, some of it I think is from an emotional point of view. Some of it is from you've passed that stage now, okay? So how you are, tune in. You could be looking at life a very different way now. You could be more assertive in creating boundaries with individuals who potentially were not on the up and up. Now, the other thing I'm noticing from your zodiac sign is, let me look. Your wellness as well, like your health, your routine. You know, if you guys have been wanting to get fit for a long time and you just feel like you felt so sluggish, you felt tired, a lot of fatigue, sleeping issues, those things should start dissipating. You may need to wait for the moon to move into the house of Virgo, and you could create some new routines. Now, I've had a lot of individuals that are Aries and Aries and Libra natives. And what I have found over the last few years is a lot of subjects to do with I want to get fit, why isn't this moving? I can say some of that can start more so after September, but definitely by the time we have both Saturn and Neptune moving direct, what you can find is that fitness level and things like are coming up. The one area to be careful of is around your wellness is not go to extremes come January. If you want to do anything extreme, try and get it done now before the end of the year, because we are going to have a Mars retrograde, and that is where it's going to hit. So, restructuring your routine, getting into, healthy patterns, but also finding some pleasure in your life. That's going to be something quite critical for you guys, because it has been quite isolating. And moving back into this positivity of Zen, you're going to also feel as though you're going to want to connect with like-minded individuals that like you as a human being, that feel like they're your true tribe. And so if you have had friends that really haven't been that, you may be moving away from those individuals. You effectively will actually have a deeper connection with a group of individuals. Now, if you haven't found them yet, it's coming. Also, it could take on a world of its own, in a sense where, how can I explain it? It could be career orientated as well, but like-minded individuals, feeling like you want to become part of people's worlds. And friends can be family. So for you, if you have had issues with family, high love, it could be a time for you, Aries, where you're going to find you're not tolerating any of that garbage anymore. You really want to have people in your life that you can trust. And if you feel that somebody's being shady, you're probably going to be more vocal about it. Now, the warning could be we do need to be very patient. This is not a good time for pacifiers. And I'm really speaking in code at the moment. So if you do feel you need some reprieve, we need to lean into things that make us feel good, not just band-aids, but actually facing the truth of things. And so some of the shadow that can come up with Pisces, like I said, it's not going to be a permanent thing, but lean in and look at the things. Is it hurt? Is it upset? Is it feeling betrayed? Don't feel needing to be isolated is normal. It doesn't have to be. And it's ending. So where you might also see that is suddenly realizing you're going to take your life in a totally different direction. And that's okay. Okay. So, pat yourself on the back. You're doing really well. Go easy. There is a lot of great things coming for your zodiac sign. It has been hard in those areas, but I do feel for a lot of you, you're going to get back on track. You're not going to tolerate things where people are being shady. You're going to be pretty straight. This is not the time to be vengeful. This is not. This is the time to lean in and look at things and accept, reach closure, and then make decisions about what we're doing future tense. Okay? The true colors of individuals definitely are going to come out. Now, we have Taurus. Taurus. Okay, so for you, a lot of things happening in your 11th house. So this is down to your friends, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, the things you were doing for people, the people you could trust, the people you couldn't, having to learn to actually be patient with some of these things. Maybe some of the groups and connections you were dealing with, although it was the North Node, especially for Aries, the supplies, the North Node was like an ending, and so was the South Node in that stage. Because generally speaking, it's deemed that we move away from the South Node, Virgo. So wherever that lands in your chart, we were ending and wrapping that up because it was where we become stagnant and comfortable. So it was detail orientated. It was, perfectionism, being great at bookkeeping, for instance, but it was more the wellness, the structure, the tradition, the traditional ways of doing things. So we saw lots of changes with banks. We saw changes with people that were working in offices during the cycle because it was in the South Node. Now, it doesn't mean we don't need them. It does mean that evolution and connection to banks, bookkeepers, doctors, nurses, that's definitely coming up, especially as we move into 2027. So those things were under review, but technically both the South Node and the North Node were to do with endings. So that was a very frustrating energy to live through because we're having to accept endings. We're having to accept that we still need to lean in, go with the flow. We will come through this tunnel and there will be that rebuilding and new start. And I do very much believe as we are exiting this, we're working through that progress now. We're working through the process, but it has been tough. So for Taurus, This connecting to your 11th house, it could have brought a lot of subjects up to do with endings with friendship groups. Now, maybe it was your hopes, dreams, and aspirations. Maybe it was with groups. You had to be more patient with those individuals. Maybe you leaned into those individuals, but you could be looking at something differently now from a different angle. You may have outgrown certain things. And again, I would say that particularly is more than likely, A, because the nodes shifted, but because we have done a lot of work in this area. So making peace with things. Now, the other thing you are directly dealing with. Things to do with your children, to do with fun, to do with this can be romance. It was like almost like feeling like if you weren't in a connection, it was on the back burner. You know, if you were trying for children, it could have been that there was a bit of a delay. For some of you, you could find as we move through this, there can be a new chapter in that area, and you can be turning over a new leaf. Now, if there are difficulties between a push-pull, especially because we are going to be going into a Venus retrograde, and say you were in a relationship, try and be patient during this time. Try and lean into the Venus retrograde to see if there can be a repair. However, with the 5th house, this also could have been like, you know, really missing the old times, missing the way you guys maybe were able to enjoy your money, to get the things that you enjoyed, maybe the hobbies you enjoyed doing, the creativity, and it's kind of gone on the back burner. There can be a new chapter in that department between now and next month, but I do directly believe for a lot of you, you could be looking at what is truly valuable now in a far more grounded manner, with potentially some closure points happening in that 11th house. Now, what else can I say? The caution area would also be your income sector, because we are going to be having a connection to Uranus and Gemini, and that actually hits your 2nd house. So, you know, try to not go into exuberance. You could have some surprises. You actually could have some breakthroughs, especially on a financial front. Now, if it's not happening right away, don't look at the energy, you know, in the air as a permanency. It's something we're moving through. The universe is asking us to wrap some cycles up so we can move into this new energy that's already started, which is the Aquarius Leo axis. So try to lean in and deal with some of the circumstances that are cropping up. But this is going to be an ending cycle where you are going to have less dramas associated to that area, and more really connected to your career sector. So a big focus is going to be in that direct department, your purpose and what you want to do. So what zodiacs do we have in the house? Then we have Gemini. Uranus is going retrograde, so that's going to be interesting for you. We are having a hard aspect to that, especially with the eclipse. You also might have been dealing with financial situations. You could have been trying to get paperwork of the likes done. You also could have subjects to the car and transport, especially post-eclipse in Leo, and subjects to do with siblings cropping up. And, you know, Virgo, your home zone, you might have had a lot of changes in your home. A lot of, if you have kids, changes with your kids, changes with your home, changes with, you know, needing to do repairs. Now, could there be a bit more? There could be. But you could also be looking at your house and, you know, wanting to refinance, wanting to get bills in order, wanting to update things. Now, if you weren't able to during the whole cycle of the phase with Pisces, Virgo in the nodes, able to do that, you can have that kickoff to achieving that by the time we reach into next month. But be very practical about it. Try and get paperwork of the likes in order. And you really, if you've been wanting to, you know, file paperwork or do anything like that, you're going to want to get that done as soon as possible, because we are going to go into a Venus, and then, you know, after that, Mercury is going to be going retrograde. So paperwork and things, try and get by the end of September at least, if possible. Now, separately, where the other area is for you, which is Pisces, which is where the eclipse is. is connected to your career sector. Now, if you've been doing two things, you could be feeling like you're being pulled between two places. Now, it doesn't have to be that it ends, but what it can be is emotionally accepting what is working and what isn't. Okay, so all of these things can be as such. If it's not working, accepting the truth, it could clash with other individuals in this instance associated to the eclipse in Pisces, which sucks, but it's accepting. So, could it be that an old way of doing something you need to transform? Could it be that you have to choose a left or a right? It could be. Could it be that you decide you could go up a level? But again, you are not going to have the same difficulties connected to that area after we wrap up this cycle. And when's that? Technically, this eclipse doesn't. However, we do have one more next year, and it is in the house Virgo, which does link to your home zone. And that's for all of us, okay? So wherever the Pisces Virgo energy falls, and the subjects I'm referencing, believe me, there's hundreds of ways they can show up in your chart and how they can be interpreted depending on the circumstance you're dealing with. Not all the eclipses would have hit the same area. So for some of you, for instance, you could have finances coming up, and then the next instance it was something to do with a pet. It depends on the house, okay? So 7th house as an example, it could have been a relationship drama. On the next eclipse, that link to that same zone, it might have been a financial subject. So it doesn't always happen the same way. So we could be surprised in some of these areas. So for you, that is what's changing in that direct department. You're trying to work it out. You try, should I go left? Should I go right? Am I doing the right thing? Go easy on yourself and know that we have had some hard aspects since way before 2020. We are going to have a trine by the end of the month. Use it as a PDF and decide what you want to do. More than likely, you're already dealing with this stuff as it stands. What have you learned in that area of Pisces? How is that directly relating to you? Did you feel understood? Did you accept the career field you were in? Are you being authentic in the career field? Or were you doing something for money but something for passion? You're going to get really real with that at this point in time. Okay? And then we have Cancer. Have you been having fun, Cancer? Cancer, you guys did have some hard yards. Jupiter wasn't having so much fun, pretty much because of the aspects where it was having. However, for you, especially if you did feel like the belt had to be extended out, you may find that a lot of that is starting to come off. However, what you do need to understand is Jupiter moved from your first house to your second. So, dental health, looking after your eating habits, you do need to be careful with that. You may earn a lot more this year from here into 2027. However, what you can find is you can spend more. So you do need to watch that. Now, also, you could have had some things to do with vehicles, contracts, subjects to do with siblings, maybe, trying to get paperwork of the likes done. That might have felt as though a lot of those things that were quite local really had to go on the back burner. So maybe you weren't at home as much. Maybe you had a lot of changes of phones. Maybe you had, a subject to do with a car, house, cars, siblings, communication. It could have been more private. You might have really felt like you were dealing with some emotions that potentially other people didn't understand. There could have been some health things as well. And again, you could have been dealing with the likes of legalities, contracts, working abroad, dealing with things online, your philosophy in life, maybe upskilling, maybe teaching other people, maybe having to learn to go with the flow, but you had a lot of shit on your plate. That should start calming down. Now, I would say, especially because Mars is in Cancer at the moment, drive very carefully, be aware of your mood. The eclipses always do directly impact Leos and Cancers quite a bit because you are both there's the moon and the sun, which is Cancer and Leo. And so during that time, within your ego, you're going to want to know, how you are going, where you're going, what's happening. You might not want to be seen or felt. You could be more irritable. So give yourself the grace of about 4 days. Things will make sense for you. Now, there is going to be a reprieve in that area. And for you, a lot of your energy at the moment, you could feel quite frustrated. You could have felt as though you weren't able to get things back on track. There could be some surprises in that area, but whatever it is going to end, okay? The other thing is, with Uranus going retrograde, you could have some real clear ideas. You could become quite clairvoyant. Many times cancers are. You could also need to look after your nervous system, find better ways of dealing with stress levels, but you definitely could have a creative idea and something could really surprise you. Something someone says you can read between the lines, and I do feel people aren't going to be able to hide things from you. Okay, then we have Leo. I have just mentioned how it affects Cancer. So for you, yes, at the eclipses, go easy. Eclipses also are notorious for heart-related energies, and because Leo is heart, we must look after that. If nothing's happening and it feels cool, fantastic. If there is that disposition and it feels funky, go and seek a professional. But for you as an individual, a lot of opportunities are going to come through for you. However, what we're first looking at is what this subject matter between Virgo and Pisces has been bringing up. A lot to do with your income, okay? It was almost like, you know, a lot of that was on the back burner. It was like changes. There has been changes. So how it was, if you look back to pre-25, it's not the same anymore, okay? But the things you wanted to do, the structure, you know, being everything in a nice little bow, you're going to be working on that, especially from, I would say, yeah, September, because we are going to have a new moon. Don't go to exuberance for spending if you can avoid it. Look at things very practically if there is triggers associated to that, because there's going to be this push-pull at the moment. Almost like you're trying to fit a square in a circle. And so instead of us getting up in our ego about it, sit through frustrations, sit through memories of experiences, know that this too is going to pass. And then as we move into September, we can go, okay, wherever the cards fell, they fell. Whatever pops off, deal with it as we need to. And then in the truth of who you are going to be dealing with these areas differently. So yes, you might have had the likes of really working hard with money, but also as much as it was coming in, it was going out, maybe trying to pay down debt. You know, the things you thought you had, you didn't. And it could be that you're realizing that you do have more now, or that you're wanting to create that. Now, also other people's money, okay? The 8th house. The 8th house is the give and take within relationships. And I can tell you, I can guarantee you, you maybe should have had a bit more healthy boundaries around people that, you know, they were supposed to be putting their bid in, but they probably didn't. More than likely, hi Andrew, you will find that your viewpoint of that, where maybe you were blindsided with things, the opportunities and wealth that you could have got, dealing with the things of tax and debt, legacies, and inheritances. It's all the taboo subjects, but Pisces was there. So there could have been delays and maybe payments that you were going to get from a government body, or a payment for tribe and family. That is actually going to come to the end, but what you directly were depending on and where it wasn't really dependable and you had to build that up yourself, which is quite funny because I was talking to a friend today briefly and we were laughing about the fact that, you know, many people are like, oh, Libra, blah, 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 you know, you've been getting money all this time. And it was like, all my life, I've had to work hard for what I've had, all my life. You know, and the particular position that this was referenced by an astrologer was like, yeah, no, that really hasn't happened. Now, should it have happened? Probably. Did it mean it did? No, it didn't. So for you, that position, that eclipse could bring up an unexpected bill. It might bring up a surprise. It could bring up something that is owed to you. Jupiter also with Uranus actually shifting into retrograde. That for you links to your 11th house. Okay. So, yes, it could be some opportunities. It might be a group or club. It could be a community setting. It might be an aspiration you have that you're wanting to actually lean and deal with. It could be alone also. Okay. Wanting to do something quite large. But generally, also, you could when you look from the 10th to the 11th, it can be that you're tired of having a job. You want a career. You want to have something. It's almost like a legacy. It's what you want to be known for in life. You're going to want to be more than what you currently are. And Jupiter will give you those opportunities, but you have to take them. So if you've really hated doing something you're doing, this is going to be a time where you think outside the box, and Jupiter will give you the opportunities. It's South Node, so it can be old opportunities, old times where you weren't able to do them, and suddenly it's coming back, and you're looking at it and going, can I make this better than it was before? It won't be able to be the same. It's going to have to be different. So tweaking it, changing it, looking at it, and, is it a career? Is it a business? High research clue. Is it an aspiration? Is it with the people that you mix with? Whatever this is going to be, it's going to be a new chapter. But do you deal well with eclipses? No. So, best advice, do something between now and the next 3 days that keeps you very focused on the here and now. Give yourself time to actually reflect on who you are, not what people want you to be, not who you think you should be, who you are without apologies. Many times we don't accept who we are, and this is about integrity. It is about integrity, but it's also about honesty. Okay, good luck with that one. Now we have Virgos. You guys know, especially those of you that talk to me regularly, friendship groups, etc., clients, members. This has been hard. For you, it's almost felt like you as an individual, you've been on the back burner. Your needs, your wants, your desires, the old version of you, how you looked. You're probably looking at yourself and going, who the hell are you? What happened to you? And for good or bad, right? You're different. You've changed. You're not the same person anymore. And that can bring both sadness and relief. But you've been through the ringer, okay? It has not been easy for Pisces or Virgo. This has not been easy. But who you are now is more authentic. You might be wondering when you're going to have the new you. It's already here. It's already arrived. It's about leaning in and maybe mourning the shit you had to go through, okay? But doesn't mean that it was all bad. No. Doesn't mean it's shaped you into the beautiful energy you are today. I actually do believe so. We are not one person on this planet will have perfect days. But it has been hard. Let's not sugarcoat it, right? It has been hard. It's been a lot of shadow work. You guys are notorious for being the most realistic individuals on the planet. It's like, and, I was talking to somebody a while ago and I said, the one thing I adore about Virgos is there's no ifs and buts about it. Like, if you want to get to the root cause of it and say, the conflict resolution, if these individuals were to be mediators, they'd be like, shush, okay, now let's just get to the data. And I'll give you an example. You could have a fight with someone, but if you really care about them, if something really terrible happened, at a drop of a hat, you'd drop the fight and you'd be there. That's Virgo, okay? It's the doctors and the nurses. It's let's do what we need to do. And that's Virgo. Virgo's practical. Virgo's analytical. Virgo is a perfectionist. Virgo just needs to get off their own backs. Virgo is so perfect, they're difficult on themselves. And they don't think they are. They really don't. They're like, I probably could have gone a lot higher than that. And hands up if you feel this. So you haven't been able to look at yourself. You might feel that you've been through the bush backwards. When do I have my time? When can I choose who I am? When is it going to be my turn to be included? when we include ourselves. And this Pisces eclipse could be bringing up subjects to do with a lot of things. Our pets that have died. You know, it's very psychic. It's your Venus house, your money, your values, your connections, your partnerships, your spirituality, your faith, your dreams, your delusions, your disappointments. They're all a book. And not one romance story. You know, most of the most romantic movies on the planet had that. Does that mean that it was sands through the hourglass and that it wasn't so and it didn't matter? Not at all. If we have someone that we love and they're not here, we still love them. They're not here, we still love them. So even the moments that have been the most painful, they've stayed with us, but they're still connected to us. They're still an essence of who we are. But they don't, however, need to define us. So it can be difficult for you at the moment. You might just want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You might just want to go, you know, this has just been difficult. I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't believe anyone. I'm going to be Rapunzel and put myself up in a tower. Or you could be the me. And we have to be careful. Both exist. Both you and your connections are. Both you and what you bring to the table. And where you're going is incredibly interesting. Now, the tension point could be the fact that you are a Mercury sign and Uranus is in Gemini, okay? Now, with this, during the lunation and the eclipse connected to your romantic sector, you may not have been able to spend a lot of time connected to, you know, connections. You might have felt there was a distance because it's the 12th house, but it's your romance sector. So instead of it being dreamy, romantic, steamy, it might have felt like there was nowhere to be found. Maybe somebody wasn't there. Maybe you were thinking about a person of the past. If you were single and you were dealing with this last few years, you know, on your own, you could have been looking at life like, where is that, you know, Omar Sharif? When is this coming? That's ending. But facing in and going, hey, how was I alone? Was it that bad? What were the good things? What were the bad things? What have I learned about myself through this process? Who am I today? Do I still want the same things? What could a new romance story or connection or contract look like now? And a lot of the essence of who you are has completely evolved. Now, with the Gemini axis, it is to do with your career. Now, you could all of a sudden go, you know what? I have this great idea. Now, this could be an opportunity coming out of nowhere. You also could talk about your purpose, because when we look at the 10th house, it is to do with purpose. Where do I see myself going? What do I see for myself? So it's not just career, although there is a possibility of that, and you can have major breakthroughs and it can happen very quickly, and you can have success, you can have surprises, you can have sudden revelations, but this also could be a big conversation coming up about where you see your life going. You know, would this be the time to skydive? No, don't skydive, okay? Please don't. Be careful around water as well. But yeah, communication can come in conversations, paperwork, gossip. Be careful of gossip. If you don't want to share anything, keep it to yourself. That's what I would say, especially to November. Being cautious in that area. Libra, have you guys had fun? I'm tired. How many Libras do we have? Do we have any Libras in the house? Or am I mean, apart from the fact we're various signs, but I mean, you know, this Libra hasn't had fun. I remember when Pluto moved into Aquarius, this one astrologer was like, Libra, you've been having fun. I was like, bitch, I haven't been having fun. All I do is work. Aquarius probably says the same thing. And Capricorn. Anyway, so Libra. Okay. You have had a lot of shit, okay? Venus is going to go retrograde in your second house of professional resources. You've had Virgo over your 12th house, a lot of psychology, enemies, issues, paperwork, health. Virgo, what else? I don't know how you've dealt with the air. Um, technically, because it is over the 12th house, it's more, it's not that you're, could it be? Maybe, going over a lot of information, retaining a lot of information, dealing with other people's drama, maybe even dealing with drama. You probably learnt now how to deal with drama and not take it to heart, how to deal with drama and not get paranoid over things. Now, could it have caused paranoia? Yes, it could have. You may have dealt with communication in a whole new fashion. Anyone can attest to that? Libra Sun. Has it been fun, Andrew? Not really. You're like, this bitch. Anyway, so very psychological. Now, technically, let's just be honest. You are happy doing you like your environment tidy. Okay? There's a way some shit's gotta be. And when you can't do that, you don't like it. Okay, you like your environment controlled, you like it nice and clean. We probably won't admit it, but we probably do have some OCD side effects. Okay, this is Libra. So who are the best flatmates to live with if you wanted a really clean house? From my experience, Libra, Virgos. I mean, hello. My sister's a Virgo. We were great flatmates. Because we had that clean axis going on. Like, it was good. It was good. Now, that over the 12th house, you could have had a lot of things on your plate, okay? A lot of things you were having to deal with. Maybe you weren't able to organize everything. You were juggling. You probably felt like pink funhouse. Now, you also had a lot to do with the 6th house. Now, the 6th house, the 6th and the 12th house is shit, okay? Because it's like basically doing everything for everyone. I can do it, Bob the Builder. Just go, go, go. So 6th house is, it might not even feel like, the 7th house or the 10th house or the 11th house. It's just getting everything done. So if you have not been flat off the feet, maybe since 2007, having changes in wellness, changes in diet, changes in nutrition, changes in your daily routine, restructuring it for a lot of people, you've been having fun right now. You might be working on wellness at the moment. The 6th house is an interesting thing. It can be patterns and habits. It might be that you want to look after your mind, body, soul. It could be that you're looking at fitness. It might be also from an emotional point of view. If you haven't redeveloped how you deal with those challenges of people's expectations, dealing with the hurdles, jumping over backwards, you could be actually looking at it going, something's got to give. So, this balance, trying to find that energy balance. Now, could this have kept you very busy? Yes. Was there a reason maybe why you were doing this? I would say yes. You may have wanted to get certain things back in check from 2020. Now, you might directly be looking at it from a very different angle now and saying, okay, I probably could do something different now. I could deal with this subject in a very different way. The 6th and the 12th house can show our bad habits and other people's. Can it be psychological? Yes. Can it be intuitive? Yes. But you're going to get more balance, especially as you do move into next month. And there can be some clarity surrounding certain things as we do move into the following months. Now, we've also, for you, we do have both Saturn and Neptune retrograde. Chiron also has been going through your romantic sector. Now, and we're going to have a Venus retrograde. Okay, so Venus and Mercury are going to touch your romantic sector. This ain't over, Libra. Okay, your money, your love life, your connections, what you want, how you want to build things. You're going to be having those things under review. You're going to be looking at those areas. You could become extremely fertile. Okay, so if that's something you're like, oh hell no, be careful. I'd also say from that, what else? Yes, you could have had pets that passed away. You might have got a pet. You might have lost a pet. Could that come up? It's a possibility. I talked to my cat the other day. I'm a dog, and I'm like, I said to my cat, "Look, I love you. I hope that doesn't happen. Thank you for being my kitty cat." But you know, it happens. It can happen. So that energy, especially with the 12th house, you also with that could have had a lot of psychic revelations. You could have been able to read people's body language and gauge what they were thinking without them saying anything. And you probably did relate to it in a very different way. Separately, what you may have had might have been a lot of shadow work over, I would say, the last and when I say shadow work, a lot of revelations, a lot of light bulb moments. Dream states can be quite lucid because of that 12th house. So you could have had flashbacks from childhood. You might have had memories from eons ago, or thinking of a person and then they pop up. It's very common with the 12th house. So that for you, at an intuitive level, what you want to do, where you want to go, how you want life to be, these things are going to be quite key subjects. I'd also say I keep hearing the term reciprocity. So what you will and won't accept in connections, marriages, contracts, partnerships, it's very different. You know, both Aries and Libra have incredibly changed. And so even healthy boundaries and putting your foot down with certain things, I wouldn't be surprised. Scorpio, your zodiac sign has had that over the 11th house for Virgo. And in your 5th house for Pisces. So, could you have emotionally spent? Yes. Could you have been thinking about desiring children? For some of you, yes. Could you have misinterpreted at times connections for more than they actually were? Yes. Could there have been trust or, you know, even fads and hobbies where it's been temporary and you felt like nothing really got off the ground? Yes. Now, whoever the new version of you is and whatever your passion is stirring in you, you could have a revelation of a changed opinion in this department. This could be lady luck as well. I mean, it is the 5th house. The 5th house technically is a speculation energy. I wouldn't say, hey, go off and splurge your whole pay pack, but there could be some luck here, right? Now, liberating yourself, moving out, you know, I can't say moving out. Creativity, creative projects, artistic endeavors, romantic liaisons and connections, people of the past coming back, spiritual connections of the like. That can be twin flame as well. Again, you know, being actually out and about, sometimes, especially with Pisces, we can actually scare ourselves, so it can directly impact our connections. So it could have been something to the degree of you feeling, hey, I do actually need to be more open there. And again, if you were trying to conceive, you may find after this actually shifts, especially because when we did have Saturn there, it was a little bit problematic. Good but bad. I'd say as the nodes shift, we can have this renewal in that area and that can actually come full circle. Now, yeah, you could have some surprises. You might actually look anything down to, say you had some money that you were looking at or money that was owed to you, money that you owe. It could come as a bit of a surprise. Read the fine print of contracts, okay? Because it is a Mercury sign with Uranus and Gemini. I would keep an eye on that department. So read the fine print. I do overall see this as being positive for you. especially because as we do move into the Venus retrograde, this is more about you actually rewriting the story of who you are, recreating, retuning into the things that you desire. But what I would say is, don't go into pandemonium spending, especially on just trinket items, or it can be, overindulgence, emotional eating that could have cropped up. That's from a shadow phase of, viewing and leaning in. You could find that you actually do get to the root cause of something and express it. And, it could actually be an emotional, closure point. It could be a moment where you have revelations about what the traumas were, what the delays were, what is and what isn't anymore, and what you're going to leave behind and what you've learned from these things. It doesn't have to be something difficult. It could be something that you've just changed your mind on. Maybe you did want kids. Maybe you don't want them anymore. Maybe you're looking at connections and romance and saying, hey, I do want something more serious. Nevertheless, that creative element of you is going to come back, and it's about tapping into it in a very positive way and just really respecting the multiple layers of who you are as a person. But definitely I could see the likes of budgets coming up for you. Sagittarius, I know you guys have had a hard time. It is going to get better. I just want to say it is going to get better. Now, things to do with home, children, family, again, yes, you could technically say fertility, where you're living. Having to go with the flow. I'm living here, no, I'm living there. Like, lots of changes, lots of letting go. You could have done, I had Pluto there for 17 years. It really sucked. I have a sibling that has this transit, and I sat with him and candidly chatted about it. And I was like, look, yours is the nodes. Yet when I do look at it, the one thing I probably didn't mention is, hey, when we think about it, we did have Uranus there, we had Chiron there. So yeah, I mean, it was as bad as Pluto, really, because it moved through every stage and cycle. Whereas Pluto's long and slow. Technically, we went through the same thing, but from different angles. So with the fourth house and it being Pisces, we could have felt trapped in a home. We could have felt trapped in a family. We might have felt spiritual connected to it. We might have felt disillusioned to afford a home or having to move. Like, it would have gone through ebbs and cycles. Now, there is going to be something coming up to do with that. Could it be to do with the mother? Could it be to do with the mother of a child, ex or connected? Where you live, how your childhood went, what you wanted to have versus what you had, what you want for your children. Yes, those things can come up. Now, you also could have a revelation of how you actually look at those things now and what you've realized through the shadow work of it and the difficulties and the lessons learned on that very long, full card into road journey. And that's not a bad thing. Now, could there be a breakthrough here? Yes. Could there be an ending in this area? Yes. Now, could it be something you feel has already ended and you're moving into acceptance? For some of you, yes. Does it mean it's never going to be? What do I mean by that? Say you've accepted in one way that something is going to be so. It doesn't mean that can't be recreated. Does that make sense? So it's not like that area of your life never exists. No, it's an acceptance connected to what that is and what it is right now and what it needs to be and how you're going to transform it. That is the factor. I hope that lands. Now, connections, sudden unexpected changes with marriages, contracts, partnerships, expect the unexpected. Try to be patient. But you have been patient. You've had the fourth house. And again, new chapters connected to your career sector. Like, for many of you, it could have been that you had to stay home, you had to look after the kids, or you were maybe caring for a parent. Like, what you were doing before birth, you might not have been able to drive, so you were stuck at home. Like, those kind of subjects. It's wrapping up. You're probably really happy it's wrapping up. You're like, dude, I just need to get out of this year. I just need to get out of that lunar phase Can we just come to terms with it? Can we have the spiritual funeral for the terrible things that happen and the terrible things, unfortunately, that we've seen on the global stage lately? But from a psychological point of view, this can be a new chapter, okay? Now, getting organized, restructuring, looking at things very realistically, it's going to be something you're really passionate about, but you're going to be able to get things in order. There can be some shocks and surprises, be it in your side, inside of you, or what other people's opinions are. Throw it away. How do you feel? Who is the new version of you? How did this reshape you? Not what people expect you to be, the perfect version. Who are you today? Okay, who do we have next? We have Capricorn and then Aquarius, and then we're done. Are we done? No, then we've got Pisces. Capricorn, for you, a lot of things to do with your third house. Eating, siblings, car, your thoughts, going with flow, your physical routine. Your routine might have completely changed. You might have had to have changed a lot of things. A lot of things to do with your siblings, your connections, your thoughts, your patterns. Now, that could have been a bit frustrating. A contract as well. Now, your routine, there could be a sudden shake up to a routine. Care for your health, be cautious of your health. And again, the ninth house, like, maybe there were delays in, maybe you weren't able to travel. Maybe you moved away from a spiritual belief system. Maybe you weren't able to get out and about, travel. Your philosophies in life have evolved and changed. You might have suppressed some of these things. Maybe you didn't have time to do the things that were spiritual for you. Maybe you didn't feel as lucky. Maybe you were waiting for an outcome to a case. You may find that this is going to help, and even knowing what direction to go. Do I go left? Do I go right? Could be a business and you're trying to do something on the home front or something online, third house, technology. I would say whatever these lessons are, it could be that you lean in and do it in a different way, but you have learned something, okay? Looking after your wellness as well maybe has come as a bit of a challenge, but, you are wanting to shake things up, have a bit more fun, but there could be a wild idea that suddenly comes to you and you have a revelation of how to actually achieve this in a better way. Aquarius, you guys did have Pluto over your 12th house. You've also had a lot to do with your income sector going on for a while. Okay, so there's been ups and downs. Who can I depend on? What can I depend on? What are the resources? Developing maybe references inside of your career. What's your material value? There could have been almost like an acceptance of easy come, easy go. I would say something in that is going to change, and I would say there could be an unexpected expense, but you could be really seriously looking at things now and going, hey, I've actually dealt with this quite a bit, and I've probably dealt with less. I've been able to live with less. I've been able to live with more. Frugal living, trusting the process, believing just over and over again that things would get there. Now, some of that can crop up. You could have also been quite secretive. Maybe almost like, this is for me. Maybe you've been putting things away for savings. There could be some benefits coming towards you, okay? So this could be a perk. It could have also been challenges, emotional eating, habits, patterns. Like, this is one of those eclipses that if you were to kick a habit, it's actually a good time to do it, and it can actually hold for a very long time. Now, dental work, teeth, a lot of work in that area. Now, for some of you, yes, pregnancies are possible, surprises in pregnancy. Maybe this could be a hobby or a creative pursuit. This could be, doing something that really wanting to tap into something that makes you feel more alive and more fun. Some information can come to you, maybe from an ex. Now, again, your paperwork, making sure your paperwork's in order. If if you felt that the give and take and the reciprocity inside of connections wasn't there, or what you had versus what other people had, there wasn't that give and take, I would say this whole cycle is going to really put that question mark there. I feel for many of you, you're going to be looking at it going, why is this being so hard? This is how it should be. Yes, there should be that give and take. And look, it could have been for given reasons, but what I do see is the new version of you is going to be looking in and actually saying, no, there should be some give and take. There could be something that is actually owed to you. And if there could be a bit of a delay, there could be a question mark over how that's coming. But again, I would say really looking at it, what are the things I can depend on? You might have felt you didn't know what way to go. Do I depend on myself? Do I not? Do I lean in? Where is that going to be? So I'd say that this has been quite a tough one for you. Wellness checks, definitely if you feel something's off, it's a good one to have a wellness check, especially fem checks. But again, I do see this as some reprieve, moving away from that circumstance. Be careful with driving, especially because we do have Saturn and Neptune retrograde, as well as Mars and Cancer. So I would say for all of us, being careful with our homes, being careful with sharp objects at home, and your health. You're going to have to pace yourself, because for many of you, you're going to get burnt out. So, it's about, relaxing, recouping, going easy, not doing it, because you're going to have these burn moments where you're going to be going, put everything in, and then you're going to get tired. So you've got to find some balance. You've got to be kind to yourself. You guys have had a lot. Pluto's also in your zodiac sign. You guys could go a little bit rogue, because Pluto will be going out of bounds. So don't do anything risky. And don't think that, better times aren't coming. Better times are actually coming. And you can actually have more success in the element of love as well. Now, last but not least, Pisces. Similar to Virgo, I can't believe how long I've talked. I'm going to go to bed tomorrow. I'm going to be in bed. So for Pisces, again, if you have felt that your relationships weren't able to be there for you, or you've been isolated, some of you, it might have been due to circumstance. You could have been in a hospital, you might have been, working remotely, you might have felt that people didn't quite understand you. People could have been in a relationship, for instance, and with that 12th house there, it's almost like you're too busy, you're practicing on a project, or you're working on a project. So with that, it's not necessarily a personal thing, although it does start coming through like it is personal. So when you're having that transit, it could be that you're directly really tuning into something and working on it. However, on the opposite end, it could be, say you're in a partnership and your partner is working such a lot. Now, if, for instance, you were single and you were like, wait, do I have time for love? Again, it's because it went on the back burner. It's coming out of the back burner now, and you can actually have new chapters. Now, could there be some difficulties for you during this time? There can be, and that is because something in your life effectively is ending. And so the old version of who you used to be is changing. So your spiritual belief systems, your identity, what you are deciding to be, not what everyone has known you for. Who are you today? Away from, the BS, away from, you might have also been critical on yourself of going, I thought I was going to be, what could an example be? I thought I was going to be an astronaut. It's those things. It's the identity. It's where is the relationship at? Where is the, why don't people appreciate me? I could be a manager. Why don't they appreciate me? Do I feel like I'm a manager anymore? Do I want to do that? Where is my health at? Am I caring for myself? Have I actually looked at how much I've changed? Do I need to lean in and care for myself? So, this is a time to be cautious, to listen to your body, to understand that you have changed, that your needs as a soul are warranted. Where do you find that is true for you? Like I said, If your choices are based on what you feel people would expect, that's not the core truth. That's an ego identity. If you feel a resistance to it, whatever it be it it's with a connection, it's, with your life moving forward, with a role you're taking, it could be I'm a mum, I'm a dad, and it's not to say they aren't important. You're also a person. So who is that? Listen to, speak to that. A lot of times we want somebody to listen to us, but what we don't do is listen to ourselves. We are intolerant of our own needs. And, if we are really desiring to have true connections with people, we need to learn to listen to how we feel. We need to lean in and say, hey, I feel like shit today. Oh God, I thought it would be X, Y, and Z. I thought I'd be an astronaut by now, and I'm not, So really leaning in and going, I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm sad. And whatever that is, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. I do want to do X, Y, and Z. And that's where you're going to come to the truth. Now, you can be very tired. This is a good time if you needed to kick a habit and to go easy on yourself, to go more easy on yourself, and to know that you've actually done bloody well. This has been a long transit through the House of Pisces. It's gone through various planets. You've been through the ups and downs and ins and outs, and I don't think it's going to be here for another 9 years. You'll be glad. You'll be glad. Now, new chapters happening in your marriages, contracts, partnerships, new vitality, new ways of caring for yourself, new needs to care for yourself in your wellness. That between here and next month can crop up. So if you haven't been looking after yourself, you're going to have to look after yourself. You're going to have to take some respite. You're going to have to, go to the GP or rest up, get your routine in order, get to the root cause of certain things. Because Virgo is theoretically a medical sign, but it's also about getting life in order, having good chats, having conversations, being very transparent, discussing and actually communicating about it and bringing it out into the open. I think many of you have changed, and you have recently been leaning in and saying, hey, my soul is a spiritual energy and it needs to be fed. I'm not just you guys are the gurus of society. You can see the good in everyone. But you do have at times the Virgo energy, which is okay. I see the reasons why, but you need to do X, Y, and Z. And so sometimes you do actually take on the pattern of actually doing other people's work, and it can be a bit of a bother. So I've always said for Pisces and for Virgos, teach one person, take the burden off your shoulders. Rome wasn't built in a day, nor did it need to be perfect. You may want to get things in order now. You could get very frustrated that shit's not in order. What's going on the inside of you? You will get that done. Try to not put too much on your plate and overschedule yourself at the moment, because lots can be shifting around in your life. New decisions, new revelations, new feelings. And, being transparent. The 12th house can be things that are hidden. It could be things that you didn't know. It might be revelations you have or something that comes to light about yourself that you didn't know. Yes, it can be hospitals. It could be, hey, I'm feeling isolated. Maybe I need to reconnect with the world. Maybe all I've been doing is sitting in a shoebox. I've been too busy holding everything up. Before we know it, we turn around and bang, that's where it is. So changes in direction and trajectory. Looking at your income and, thinking of how that can, be of use, how it can transform. And again, big changes on the home front. There could be some sudden changes around the home front. Surprises, changes, revelations, surprise pregnancies for some of you, or something that comes out of left field that needs addressing. Now, as to you, home, your wellness, it's almost like you're being pulled in multiple directions. Now, like I said, to sum it up, a lot of the aspects, when you look at them, it looks yuck. It is very psychological. If we're aware of that, we can deal with it better. We can go, okay, I need, this isn't one of those things where, unless it was emergency situation, go deal with that then. If it's not, pause, think, unpack that information, and then deal with it. Yes, if it's something that happens suddenly, go deal with it. If it's not, you just got to step back and go, okay, I need to unpack this. Separately, it could just be an emotional time. We feel under pressure. We're trying to be perfect. We don't want to let people down, but we also want to honor the soul. It's Pisces. That's perfectly normal. Understand the push and pull. Could we have some 3D circumstances going on? Yes, we saw subjects to do with water. My heart absolutely goes out to them in Naples. We see that with the energy of water and Pisces. Could we have a lot of rain? We can, especially because of the Uranus and Gemini energy, unexpected. So no, the rain is not over. And that can be in various areas. The location of where the eclipse is, before I love you and leave you and go to bed. We also have some auroras at the moment going on. We have 12 hours and 36 minutes and 56 seconds till countdown of the eclipse. Now, the moon is in Pisces at the moment. For some of you, especially if you're in America, you could feel like there's a lot going on. Now, some people have actually said they've felt quite light, and other people have actually expressed pretty much feeling like they're under the pump and they're trying to be a circus clown and try and get everything done. I did find where it was. Probably because I went out of the screen. Okay, partial eclipse. Any questions? Or have we all fallen asleep? Where did they say it was visible? I'll put it in the blog post. I believe they said South America. Here it is. North and South America and part of Europe and Africa, which is funny because Australia also has Pisces in the chart, especially WA. So, any questions before I go? You've been broke, Leo Nix. I wouldn't be surprised if everyone has been, to be perfectly honest. But again, that can be something we're reworking, reconsidering. Our value systems are changing. We're sort of looking outside the box. Could we, like I said, we could feel overwhelmed. How am I going to do this? Forgot this, forgot that. What do we do? Don't feel you have to, deal with everything at once. Try and be in the now. Just feel very much in. Yeah. Well, again, as I mentioned, we own at the eclipse. The lunation is there, but not the eclipse. That's tomorrow. So we shall see. I hope it remains. I hope that energy remains. If I have given you some tools and some context, I hope it helps. I hope it gives some reference, because, like I said, these are dark waters. The psychology and the energy and the shadow and the memories at dark waters, it can be a lot. So it's sometimes testing to navigate. Pisces can be a very psychological sign. It can be the make-believe, it could be a guru, it could be having faith in things, and so people are losing, their belief systems, but it's disillusionment. We're dissolving the false ego, we're coming to the truth. We feel maybe overwhelmed in the 3D about certain things, but it can be that we're finally facing some of these things and going, okay, let me tap into these waters. Let me tap into how these situations directly impact me. And what is my truth? What is this new beginning I'm going to move into in a heartfelt, loving way, both to myself and to others?